And in world news, the White House dismissed rating agency Standard & Poor's decision to downgrade the outlook for the United States debt, saying all political sides are making progress toward cutting the deficit. Standard & Poor's set a timer on the U.S. debt debate on Monday by threatening to strip Washington of its AAA credit rating. The downgrade of the country's debt outlook is aimed at pushing President Barack Obama and the Republicans to strike a deficit-cutting deal soon. Both sides have sparred for weeks over how to tackle the deficit, which is projected to hit $1.4 trillion soon. Addressing a community college on Tuesday, President Barack Obama said a deal could be reached despite big ideological differences between the two parties.
Now, if we don't close this deficit, now that the economy has begun to grow again, if we keep on spending more than we take in, it's going to cause serious damage to our economy.
Meanwhile, White House spokesman Jay Carney said the U.S. can make serious progress in cutting the deficit, but one necessary step to achieve this is to raise the country's debt limit first.
We can make serious progress with great commitment on deficit reduction, but we must, within a time certain, raise the debt ceiling. And because in many ways, not to do so would render all our other efforts pointless, because we would immediately arrest the recovery.
On the flip side, Moody's Investor Service, S&P's main competitor, read the debate in Washington differently, saying both sides' plans for deficit reduction represent a potential change in the direction of fiscal policy that is credit positive for the U.S. federal government. India, for the first time, witnessed its exports cross the $200 billion mark at the end of the fiscal year 2010-2011. Ending in March, exports stood at $245.9 billion, a plus of 37%. Anand Sharma, India's federal trade minister, said that the growth in exports was largely powered by the engineering goods sector. Sharma expressed hopes to soon achieve the target of exports reaching $450 billion, which was set for his ministry in a draft strategy paper prepared by the Department of Commerce. The objective of the policy is focused on attracting foreign investments to increase the GDP growth rate from an annual 17% to 26% and also ensure employment for millions of young Indians.
We hope that it will be finalized once some of the details which have to be visited or revisited are done in a high-level committee which will be chaired by the Prime Minister very soon. As we had said, that we are determined to give to this country a comprehensive and India's first national manufacturing policy.
Portuguese trade unions say the deadline appointed to reduce the country's deficit before 2016 is unthinkable. Officials from the International Monetary Fund and the European Central Bank met with the Secretary-General of Portugal's largest trade union, the General Confederation of Portuguese Workers' Union. According to Carvalho da Silva, the deficit reduction deadline must be extended. He said that before 2016, it is absolutely unthinkable for any deadline to be fixed. Therefore, timelines which have been appointed to reduce Portugal's deficit must be altered, he demanded. Portugal has to come up with a radical economic reform plan, including privatization, labour market reforms and steps to shore up fragile banks by mid-May. Portugal's bailout is expected to total 80 billion euros. That's it for international business. Before we head back to news, let's take a quick look at the Asian equity, currency and the commodity markets, and then take a very good look at gold. The gold price, for the first time in its history, trades above $1,500 an ounce, a new record.